Commander Alice Wright stood at the viewport of the Earth Defense Fleet's main control room. Her hands shook as she watched the diplomatic ship break apart in the blackness of space. Just seconds ago, it had carried humanity's best and brightest leaders toward what they hoped would be a peaceful first meeting with alien life. Now those hopes drifted as debris between Mars and Jupiter. "Get me confirmation," she said, her voice steady despite the fear crawling up her spine. "I need to know exactly what happened." The room around her buzzed with panic. Officers rushed between stations, their faces pale in the blue light of emergency screens. No one had expected this. The giant alien ship had arrived only 5 days ago, broadcasting messages of friendship and knowledge sharing in perfect English. World leaders had been eager, perhaps too eager, to respond. "Weapons fire confirmed, Commander," said Officer Greg Peters, looking up from his screen. "The alien vessel released some kind of energy beam. No warning, no reason." Alice closed her eyes for a moment. 12 diplomats, 3 scientists, and 5 crew members. All gone. Alert all Earth defense bases. We are now at war with an unknown alien force. She turned to face the communications officer. "And get me a direct line to the lunar base. Lieutenant Miller needs to activate the emergency protocols immediately. Across the solar system, on the massive dreadnought that dwarfed even Earth's moon," Grand Admiral Zorthax clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. The primitive humans had reacted exactly as expected, sending their leaders directly into his grasp. Now their command structure would be in chaos. "The human vessel has been eliminated, Grand Admiral," reported his second-in-command. "Their defensive capabilities were non-existent as predicted." Zorthax's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of pleasure in his species. "The Emperor will be pleased. These humans may have developed crude space travel, but they are far behind the Caltherian Empire in all ways that matter. Begin Phase 2 of the invasion plan." The Caltherian Empire had stood for over 5,000 years, conquering 17 different alien species across 3 arms of the galaxy. Humans would simply be the 18th. Intelligence reports suggested they were resourceful but technologically weak. Most importantly, they were divided, with hundreds of separate governments rather than a unified response. "Sir," said the tactical officer, "our scouts report that human military technology is extremely primitive. They have no quantum communications, no gravity manipulation weapons, and no neural link combat systems. Victory should be achieved within days." Zorthax nodded, his scaled head reflecting the lights of the command deck. "Keep monitoring their communications. I want to know how they respond to the loss of their leadership." On the lunar base, Lieutenant John Miller received the emergency message from Earth with growing horror. The base, usually quiet with only 40 personnel, now buzzed with activity as soldiers prepared for a war they never expected to fight. "They just blew up our diplomatic vessel?" he asked, staring at the communication screen. "Without warning?" "Confirmed," came Alice Wright's voice, distorted slightly by solar interference. "We're looking at an alien invasion force, Lieutenant. You need to activate the lunar defense grid now and prepare for possible direct attack." John ran his hand through his short brown hair, his mind racing. The lunar base housed Earth's most advanced defensive technologies: railguns, missile silos, and experimental energy shields. But would any of it work against an enemy that could cross interstellar space? "I understand, Commander. Lunar defense is going to full alert." He paused. "What about the Mars colonies?" Alice's face on the screen grew even more serious. "We've lost contact with Mars Outpost 1. We have to assume they've already been hit. In Colorado, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, civilian engineer Frank Johnson was escorted through security checkpoints into a massive underground facility. Just yesterday, he had been working on improved solar panel efficiency. Today, he had been drafted into humanity's desperate technological response team. "Mr. Johnson," said the military officer who met him, "you've been selected because of your work in energy conversion systems. We need people who can think outside normal parameters." Frank adjusted his glasses nervously. "I'm not sure how my research applies to alien technology we've never seen." The officer led him into a large room where dozens of scientists and engineers already worked at computer stations. On a large screen at the front, Images of the alien ship showed its strange, organic-looking design. "We've been gathering all available data on their ship," the officer explained. "Energy readings, radiation signatures, communication patterns. Your job is to find weaknesses. Find anything we can use." Frank stared at the alien vessel on the screen. It seemed impossible that humans could stand against something so advanced, but as he studied the readings, something caught his attention. "Their energy output has patterns," he said quietly. "Rhythmic fluctuations that don't make engineering sense, unless..." Back on the EDF Valiant, Commander Alice Wright received the first reports of alien ships deploying throughout the solar system. Smaller vessels, still enormous by human standards, were heading toward Earth, Mars, and the mining operations in the asteroid belt. "They're splitting their forces," said Officer Peters. "At least 30 ships detected so far." Alice studied the tactical display, looking for any advantage. The alien ships moved with incredible speed, covering distances that would take human vessels months to traverse. "What about the experimental fleet?" she asked. "The deep space vessels?" "Captain Susan Lee reports the EDF Defiant and 3 other ships are operational," replied the communications officer. "They're currently near Saturn, running dark as ordered." Alice nodded. 4 ships against an alien armada wasn't much, but they might be useful for intelligence gathering. "Tell Captain Lee to stay hidden but observe everything she can about their technology. We need information more than heroics right now." On Earth, government leaders gathered in emergency sessions as military forces worldwide went to highest alert. In homes across the planet, civilians watched news reports with disbelief and fear. Humanity had long debated whether alien life existed. No one had prepared for aliens who arrived with immediate violence. In his flagship orbiting near Jupiter, Grand Admiral Zorthax received the first reports of human military response. Their primitive spacecraft were scrambling from bases on Earth and its moon. Their weapon systems were activating. Their communications showed panic and confusion. "Pathetic," he said to his bridge crew. "They still believe they can fight us. Send the invasion force forward as planned. I want this system secured within 1 orbital cycle." His tactical officer hesitated. "Sir, our scouts report unusual activity in some of their research facilities. They appear to be analyzing our ship designs with unexpected speed." Zorthax dismissed the concern with a wave of his clawed hand. "Let them study us. They cannot hope to understand technologies it took our civilization millennia to develop. By the time they learn anything useful, their planet will already be ours." But in labs and military bases across Earth, humanity was doing what it had always done best when faced with existential threat: adapt, innovate, and refuse to accept defeat even when logic suggested no hope remained. The first war between the Galactic Empire and humans had begun. Neither side yet understood that it would change the destiny of the entire galaxy. 6 weeks had passed since the destruction of the diplomatic vessel. The war was not going well for humanity. Captain Susan Lee stood on the bridge of the EDF Defiant, one of the few remaining Earth ships still intact. They had been hiding in Saturn's rings, watching as the alien forces took control of Mars, Jupiter's moons, and most of the asteroid belt. "Status report," Susan said, her voice low. The crew worked quietly at their stations, everyone aware that discovery by the Empire would mean certain death. "Fuel reserves at 23%, Officer Paul Davis replied. "Food and water for another month if we stay on rationing. Communications array still damaged from our last encounter." Susan nodded, her tired eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Empire ships moved through the solar system with complete confidence, not even bothering to look for human vessels in the outer planets. Why would they? Their technology was so far beyond Earth's that they had no reason to fear. "Any news? From home?" she asked. Communications Officer Linda Brown shook her head. "Last transmission we received said the lunar base had fallen. They're hitting Earth's military installations now. Civilian casualties are..." She paused, swallowing hard. "In the millions." Susan clenched her fists. 30 crew members looked to her for leadership. But what could one damaged ship do against an enemy that controlled most of the solar system? Still, giving up wasn't an option. "Keep watching their patrol patterns," she ordered. "There has to be a weakness somewhere, and prepare the shuttle. We're going to raid that damaged Empire ship near Titan. On Earth, the situation grew more desperate each day. Empire ships controlled the skies, their weapons easily destroying any aircraft that rose to challenge them. Ground forces had better luck, using Earth's varied terrain to hide and conduct guerrilla attacks, but they couldn't stop the aliens from bombarding major military bases. In the underground Colorado facility, now called Deep Mountain Base, Frank Johnson hadn't slept properly in weeks. His lab was filled with pieces of salvaged Empire technology, collected at great cost by brave soldiers who raided crashed alien vessels. "I think I've figured out how their shields work," Frank told General William Carter, who had come to check on the progress. "They use some kind of energy field that vibrates at specific frequencies to deflect incoming objects, but there's something odd about the pattern." General Carter leaned over the workbench, his gray eyes intense. "Can we use this information? We're losing ground every day." Frank pushed his glasses up and pointed to his calculations. "Maybe. Their shields are incredibly efficient, but they're designed to stop high-energy weapons and large objects. They might not be calibrated for very small, slow-moving particles. If we could deliver explosives that way." "Get me a working prototype," the general said. "You'll have whatever resources you need." In his flagship now orbiting Earth, Grand Admiral Zorthax was growing impatient. The humans were proving more troublesome than expected. Yes, his forces controlled space and had destroyed most of Earth's military bases, but ground resistance was fierce. Humans used their knowledge of local terrain to stage hit-and-run attacks, then disappear into mountains, forests, or underground facilities. "The Emperor demands progress," Zorthax told his officers. "Begin planetary bombardment of their largest cities. We will break their will to resist." Commander Vexlar, his chief tactical officer, stepped forward. "Sir, I've noticed unusual patterns in recent human counterattacks. They seem to be targeting specific systems on our ships, particularly communication arrays and sensor nodes." "Coincidence," Zorthax dismissed. "They attack what they can reach, nothing more. With respect, Admiral, they should not be able to damage our ships at all, yet 3 patrol vessels have reported successful strikes against them. The humans are learning our weaknesses much faster than predicted." Zorthax's mandibles clicked in irritation. "They are primitive creatures who barely understand space travel. The Empire has conquered 17 species across 3 galactic arms. These humans are nothing special." He turned to the weapons officer. "Begin bombardment tomorrow. Target their Bay, largest population centers first." Near Saturn, Captain Susan Lee led a small team aboard the shuttle toward the damaged Empire ship. The alien vessel had been hit by space debris during an earlier battle, and now drifted near Titan, still operational, but running minimal systems while awaiting repair. "Everyone clear on the plan?" Susan asked, checking her oxygen supply one last time. "We go in through the damaged section, download whatever data we can from their computers, and grab any technology that looks useful. 20 minutes maximum. Then we leave no matter what." The 4 crew members with her nodded grimly. They had trained for space operations, but boarding an alien vessel was beyond anything in the manual. As their shuttle approached, they saw the true scale of the Empire ship. Even this small patrol craft was larger than anything humans had built for space. The damaged section gaped open, interior lights flickering inside. "This is crazy," whispered engineer Sam Wilson. "What if their artificial gravity is still working, or their internal defense systems?" "Then we die," Susan said simply. "But if we do nothing, Earth dies. I prefer our odds." They maneuvered the shuttle to the damaged hull and attached magnetic clamps. The team moved through the breach into the alien vessel, their flashlights revealing strange architecture and materials unlike anything they'd seen before. "Their systems look partly organic," Sam said, scanning a wall panel with pulsing lights. "I think the ship is alive somehow." "Focus on the mission," Susan reminded them. "Find a data terminal." They moved deeper into the ship, passing alien bodies, the first humans to see Caltherians up close. The creatures were tall, insect-like, with 4 arms and chitinous exoskeletons. Their ship's interior was designed for their physiology, with odd angles and controls meant for multiple limbs. After 10 tense minutes, they found what looked like a control room. Sam connected their specially designed interface device to what they hoped was a data port. "I'm getting something," he said excitedly. "It's downloading. Wait. There's some kind of security protocol activating." Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Lights brightened suddenly, and they heard movement from deeper sections. "Get what you can and let's go," Susan ordered. "They're waking up." They grabbed the data device and several small components that looked important, then raced back toward their entry point. Behind them, alien voices chittered and heavy footsteps approached. They reached their shuttle just as the first Caltherian soldiers appeared, firing energy weapons that melted metal where they hit. The shuttle broke free as Susan fired the engines, racing away from the suddenly awakened Empire ship. "Did we get anything useful?" she asked once they were safely hidden in Saturn's rings again. Sam was already analyzing the stolen data. "More than useful," he said, eyes wide. "Captain, I think we just downloaded their entire communication protocols. If Earth scientists can decode this, we might be able to listen to everything the Empire says to each other." For the first time in weeks, Susan felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps the tide could still turn. Back on Earth, as the Empire prepared for its massive bombardment, humanity prepared its own surprises. The war was far from over, and humans were just beginning to show what they could do when pushed to the edge of extinction. 3 months into the war, strange reports began reaching Grand Admiral Zorthax. A squadron of Empire fighters disappeared near Neptune. Then another patrol vanished while checking Earth's moon for remaining resistance. At first, Zorthax blamed equipment failures or space debris. He could not imagine humans being responsible for these losses. Another ship lost contact, Commander Vexlar reported, standing stiffly before the Admiral's command chair. "The patrol vessel Haskavor has not responded to communications for 12 hours. Its last position was near the rings of Saturn." Zorthax's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Send a destroyer to investigate, and increase security protocols on all communication channels. I want no more unexplained disappearances." Vexler hesitated before speaking again. "Sir, there is a pattern to these incidents. They all occur in regions where our forces are spread thin, always to isolated ships. This suggests coordinated attacks, not accidents." "By whom?" Zorthax demanded. "The humans? Their remaining ships are primitive and few. They cannot hope to challenge even our smallest vessels." "Nevertheless," Vexlar insisted, "something is hunting our ships, and whoever it is, they leave no witnesses." Far from Saturn, Captain Susan Lee's EDF Defiant no longer hid alone. 7 other surviving Earth vessels had joined her, forming a small but lethal strike force. Each ship had been modified with technology reverse-engineered from the data and components stolen from the Empire ship. Status report on the new shield. "Generators," Susan ordered, watching as her crew prepared for their next mission. Chief Engineer Sam Wilson looked up from his console with a rare smile. "They're working better than expected, Captain. The design is crude compared to the Empire's technology, but effective. Their weapons still hurt us, but they no longer destroy us with a single hit." Susan nodded, allowing herself a moment of satisfaction. 3 weeks ago, they had destroyed their first Empire patrol ship. 2 days ago, they had taken down 3 more. The Empire still didn't understand what was happening, and that confusion gave the human fleet a crucial advantage. "And the gravity assisted propulsion system?" she asked. "Ready for deployment," Sam replied. "It uses principles similar to their faster-than-light drives, but simplified for our engines. We can now approach Empire vessels undetected by matching our gravitational signature to background space." On the main tactical display, 8 human ships showed as green dots, surrounding a much larger red dot. Their next target, an Empire supply vessel. "All ships prepare for attack," Susan ordered. "Remember, disable their communications first, weapons second. We need them blind and silent before they can alert the fleet." In the deep mountain base on Earth, Frank Johnson stood before General Carter and a room full of military leaders. 3 months of non-stop work had transformed the once nervous engineer into a focused, confident leader of the alien technology research team. "We've made a breakthrough," Frank announced, adjusting his glasses as he activated the main display screen. The Empire relies on neural link systems for all ship-to-ship communication. It's faster and more secure than radio waves or even quantum entanglement. He brought up diagrams showing strange, organic-looking components. These neural links connect directly to Caltherian brains. Their entire fleet functions as a single nervous system, sharing information instantly across vast distances. General Carter leaned forward. "How does this help us, Johnson?" Frank smiled. "Because we've discovered a fundamental vulnerability. Human brains produce electrical patterns completely different from Caltherian brains. When exposed to our patterns, their neural links experience something like sensory overload." He switched to video footage showing captured Empire technology reacting to human brainwave patterns. The alien devices sparked and malfunctioned. "We've developed a device that amplifies human brain patterns and broadcasts them directly into their neural link frequency," Frank continued. "Initial tests show it creates confusion, hallucinations, and false data in their systems. They literally cannot tell what's real from what we want them to see." The room fell silent as the implications became clear. For the first time, humanity had a weapon the Empire had no defense against. General Carter stood up. "How soon can we deploy this technology?" "We've already sent the designs to Captain Lee's fleet," Frank replied. "And we're preparing larger versions for Earth's defense. 2 weeks, maybe less, and we'll be ready." In his flagship orbiting Earth, Zorthax was conferring with the Emperor via quantum communication when alarms sounded throughout his fleet. The holographic image of the Emperor, a larger, more ornate Caltherian with gold-trimmed exoskeleton, flickered as Zorthax turned to check the emergency. "What is happening?" the Emperor demanded. "Unknown, Your Eminence," Zorthax replied as officers rushed around the command deck. "We appear to be under attack." Outside, human vessels appeared seemingly from nowhere, using modified versions of Empire technology. They moved differently than before, faster and more purposefully, their energy signatures masked by gravitational distortion fields. "Impossible," Zorthax whispered as he watched the tactical display. The human ships targeted his patrol vessels with precision, disabling their communications before delivering devastating strikes to weapon systems. Most disturbing of all, his neural link operators reported strange hallucinations and contradictory tactical data. Some saw enemy ships where none existed. Others failed to see real threats until too late. "Sir," Vexlar reported, his voice strained. "The humans are using some kind of interference pattern that's affecting our neural links. Our captains cannot coordinate. They're firing on each other in confusion." The Emperor's hologram loomed over Zorthax. "You assured me these humans were primitive, Admiral. You said they posed no real threat to the Empire." "They should not be capable of this," Zorthax insisted. "They're adapting too quickly, using our own technology against us in ways we never anticipated." For the first time in his long military career, Grand Admiral Zorthax felt something new: uncertainty. The humans were not following any pattern of behavior seen in the 17 other species the Empire had conquered. They didn't retreat to conserve forces. They didn't surrender when faced with superior technology. Instead, they studied, adapted, and struck back with improvements to the Empire's own weapons. "Gather the fleet," Zorthax ordered. "All ships to defensive positions around this flagship. We need to regroup and develop countermeasures against whatever the humans are using." As his orders went out, 3 more Empire ships went dark, their neural links overwhelmed by human interference patterns. On Earth, resistance forces launched coordinated attacks against ground troops, using new weapons developed from Empire technology. The tide of war was shifting, and for the first time, the mighty Caltherian Empire found itself on the defensive against an enemy they had gravely underestimated. 6 months into the conflict, the Empire's invasion force was in complete disarray. Their once perfect neural link network had become unreliable, compromised by human interference patterns that their technicians could not purge. Empire ships fired on each other as false targets flooded their systems. Supply lines from the Empire's nearest outpost, 12 light-years away, were routinely ambushed by retrofitted human vessels. Susan Lee, now Admiral Lee, stood on the bridge of the EDF, defiant, watching her tactical display with satisfaction. She commanded a flotilla of 60 ships, most of them captured and repurposed Empire vessels. Her flagship remained the EDF Defiant, now upgraded with a hybrid of human and alien technology that made it more effective than pure Empire designs. Another supply convoy intercepted, Admiral, reported her first officer, Commander Paul Davis. That's the third this week. The Empire is losing more ships than they can replace. Susan nodded, studying the map of the solar system on her display. Red indicators showing Empire forces had retreated from Mars and Jupiter's moons. They now concentrated around Earth, not as invaders, but as a defensive force trying to maintain their position. What's the status of their flagship? She asked. Still in Earth orbit, Paul replied. Our intelligence suggests Grand Admiral Zorthax is facing pressure from the Emperor. Their reinforcements are still months away and they're losing ships daily. Susan allowed herself a small smile. Then it's time for Phase 3. Alert all ships to prepare for the coordinated assault, and send word to General Carter that we're ready on our end. On Earth, Frank Johnson walked through a massive hangar filled with hybrid human-alien spacecraft. What had begun as desperate reverse engineering had evolved into innovation. Humans weren't just copying Empire technology anymore, they were improving it. Director Johnson, called one of his engineers, waving him over to a newly completed fighter. We've increased the efficiency of the gravity drive by another 20%. These ships now move faster than anything in the Empire's fleet. Frank nodded, pride evident on his tired face. In 6 months, he had gone from solar panel designer to director of alien integration, leading thousands of engineers who were not just adopting Empire technology, but redesigning it to work better with human physiology and thinking. Excellent work, he told the engineer. How are the neural link countermeasures coming? Better than expected. The latest version doesn't just create interference, it can insert specific false images into their tactical systems. We can make them see entire fleets that don't exist. Frank checked his watch. Get the upgrades to all ships immediately. The coordinated attack begins in 6 hours. In his flagship, Zorthax faced the most difficult decision of his long military career. Empire casualties mounted daily, and reinforcements were still months away. The humans had somehow developed countermeasures in months that should have taken decades. Most troubling, they had begun to push beyond Earth's solar system, threatening nearby Empire outposts. The supply situation is critical, Grand Admiral, reported Commander Vexlar. We've lost 30% of our remaining ships in the past month alone. The humans now control the outer planets and are systematically isolating our forces. Zorthax's mandibles clicked in agitation. The Emperor expected victory, not excuses. In 5,000 years of conquest, the Empire had never faced a species that adapted so quickly to their technology. Show me the latest intelligence on human capabilities, he ordered. Vexlar brought up holographic displays showing captured and modified Empire ships. They've improved our own designs, sir. Their versions use less energy while achieving greater speed and weapon power. They've integrated their computer systems with our neural links in ways our scientists don't fully understand. Another officer stepped forward nervously. Sir, we've detected unusual energy signatures around Earth's moon. The humans appear to be building something massive there. Before Zorthax could respond, alarms blared throughout the flagship. The tactical display lit up with incoming human vessels, dozens of them, approaching from multiple directions in perfect coordination. They're using our own attack formation, Vexlar observed with reluctant admiration, and our neural link operators report new interference patterns unlike anything we've encountered before. Zorthax watched as the first wave of human ships engaged his outer defenses. They moved with precision that matched or exceeded his best. Crews targeting communication arrays and weapon systems with surgical accuracy. Launch all fighters, he ordered. Defensive pattern Omega-6, and prepare my private communication channel. I must speak with the Emperor. In the secure quantum communication chamber. Zorthax bowed before the Emperor's holographic image. He had rehearsed this conversation many times in his mind, but the words still felt bitter in his mouth. Your Eminence, I must recommend something unprecedented in our history, he began carefully. We should consider a strategic withdrawal from the human solar system. The Emperor's image loomed larger, his anger visible even through the holographic distortion. The Empire does not retreat, Admiral. We have never abandoned a conquest in 5,000 years. The humans have proven too costly to subjugate with our available forces, Zorthax insisted. We lose more ships each day. Their adaptation rate exceeds all predictive models. If we remain, we risk losing the entire invasion fleet. A distant explosion rocked the ship, the battle drawing closer to the flagship. The Emperor's image flickered. You assured me these humans were primitive, the Emperor hissed. You said their conquest would bring glory to the Empire. I was wrong, Zorthax admitted. They are unlike any species we have encountered. Given time and proper resources, we can return and complete their subjugation. But to remain now invites disaster. The Emperor was silent for a long moment, calculation visible in his 4 eyes. Finally, he spoke. Very well, Admiral. You have permission to conduct a strategic withdrawal. Preserve as much of the fleet as possible. We will return with overwhelming force. As the communication ended, Zorthax returned to the command deck to find the situation deteriorating rapidly. Human ships had broken through the outer defensive line and were systematically disabling his capital ships. Order all vessels to prepare for faster-than-light jump, he commanded. We are withdrawing from this system. Send the coordinates for the Proxima Centauri stronghold. Vexler looked shocked. We're retreating? Strategic withdrawal, Zorthax corrected. The Empire will return with a force large enough to crush these humans completely. As retreat orders spread through the Empire fleet, Admiral Susan Lee watched from the Defiant with mixed emotions. They were winning, forcing the mighty Empire to flee. But she knew this wasn't the end. They're running, Commander Davis said, watching Empire ships disengaging from battle. For now, Susan replied, but they'll be back and in greater numbers. We need to be ready. She opened a channel to Earth. General Carter, the Empire is retreating. We did it. Carter's voice came through, tight with tension despite the victory. Good work, Admiral. But our intelligence team just decoded more of their communications. The Empire is planning to return with their main fleet. We need to prepare. Susan looked out at the stars beyond Earth. For the first time in 6 months, their solar system would be free of the invaders. But how long would that freedom last? Understood, General. Let's make the most of the time we have. 1 year after first contact, the Empire's retreat was complete. Not a single alien ship remained in Earth's solar system. On the Caltharian homeworld, 20 light-years from Earth, Grand Admiral Zorthax faced the Emperor's justice for his failure. The once proud military leader knelt before the Imperial throne, surrounded by guards. You have brought shame to the Empire, the Emperor declared, his voice echoing in the vast throne room. 5,000 years of conquest, 17 species subjugated, and you retreated from primitive humans. They are not primitive, Your Eminence, Zorthax insisted. They adapted to our technology faster than any species we have encountered. They turned our own weapons against us in ways our scientists still do not understand. The Emperor gestured dismissively. Excuses, you are relieved of command. Fleet Lord Kazvex will lead our return to the human world. Kazvex stepped forward, his exoskeleton decorated with the markings of numerous successful campaigns. I promise you, Emperor, I will return with the humans' surrender or their extinction. We are assembling the largest invasion force in Imperial history at the Proxima Centauri stronghold. The Emperor nodded in approval. How long until the Armada is ready? 6 months, Your Eminence. We are gathering ships from across the Empire. The humans will face overwhelming force. Neither the Emperor nor his new commander suspected that humans were already listening to this conversation, having cracked the Empire's supposedly unbreakable quantum communication codes. In Earth orbit, Admiral Susan Lee stood in the war room of the newly constructed space station Unity. Built using hybrid human-alien technology, it served as humanity's forward command center. Around her, military leaders from Earth's nations gathered to hear the intercepted Empire communications. 6 months. General Carter said, his face grim. That's how long we have before they return with an even larger force. Susan nodded, turning to the tactical display showing their solar system's defenses. In the year since the Empire's retreat, humanity had transformed. Ships that once took years to build were now constructed in weeks. Weapons and defense systems incorporated the best of both human innovation and alien technology. We've made incredible progress, she said, but we're still outnumbered. The Empire controls thousands of worlds and has resources we can only imagine. Frank Johnson, now leading the United Earth Technology Division, stepped forward. Then we don't wait for them to come to us. We take the fight to them. The room fell silent as Frank brought up schematics for a new type of ship on the main display. We've completed work on the first human faster-than-light vessels. Using the hybrid drives we developed, we can reach Proxima Centauri in just 3 weeks. General Carter stared at the schematics in amazement. You're suggesting we attack their staging area? Before they attack us? Exactly, Frank replied. They expect us to wait behind our defenses. They don't believe we've mastered interstellar travel yet. We can surprise them while their forces are still gathering. Susan studied the plans carefully. The strategy was bold, perhaps even reckless, but it offered something conventional defense did not: the element of surprise. How many ships can we prepare in time, she asked. 50 at most, Frank answered. But they'll be our best, faster and more maneuverable than anything the Empire has, and we've developed new neural link countermeasures that should be even more effective. General Carter looked around the room at the assembled leaders. This is humanity's moment of truth. We wait and face their full might, or we strike first and take the advantage. I say we vote. The decision was unanimous. Operation First Strike was approved. 3 weeks later, Admiral Lee stood on the bridge of the EDF Defiant, now rebuilt as humanity's first purpose-built interstellar warship. Around her, 50 vessels prepared for the jump to faster-than-light speed. Each ship carried Earth's best-trained crews and most advanced technology. All ships report ready, Admiral, Commander Davis informed her. Jump drives charged and coordinates locked on Proxima Centauri. Susan took a deep breath. They were about to make history, the first humans to travel to another star system, and they were going to war. Send the final message to Earth, she ordered. Then activate jump drives on my mark. The message was simple. Operation First Strike commencing, we fight for Earth. Moments later, the human fleet vanished in flashes of light, tearing holes in space itself as they accelerated beyond the speed of light. At the Proxima Centauri stronghold, Fleet Lord Kazvex supervised the gathering armada. Hundreds of Empire ships surrounded the massive space station, with more arriving daily. On the main command deck, he reviewed the invasion plans with his officers. The humans will have improved their defenses, he told them. But they cannot match the Empire's might. We will overwhelm them with numbers and firepower. An alarm suddenly blared through the station. A junior officer rushed to the tactical display, his mandibles clicking in confusion. Sir, we're detecting multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. They're not ours. Kazvex rushed to the display. Impossible. No other species in this sector has faster-than-light capability. Before he could say more, the first explosions rocked the station. Outside, human ships appeared in perfect attack formation, targeting the unprepared Empire vessels with devastating precision. The humans, Kazvex whispered in disbelief. They've mastered interstellar travel. The battle was swift and decisive. Human ships, smaller but more maneuverable, tore through Empire formations. Their improved neural link countermeasures caused confusion and panic among Empire commanders. Within hours, the Proxima Centauri stronghold fell. Admiral Lee walked through the captured station, surrounded by her officers and armed guards. They had secured not just a military victory but something far more valuable, the Empire's central database. The download is complete, Frank Johnson reported, joining her in what had been Kazvex's command center. We now have access to the Empire's records on every world they control, every species they've subjugated. Susan nodded, looking at the captured Fleet Lord Kazvex. now restrained and under guard. "How many worlds does your empire control?" she asked him. "Thousands," he replied defiantly. "You've won a battle, human, but the empire will crush you for this insult." Susan smiled. "I don't think so. We've analyzed your records. The Caltherian Empire has conquered and enslaved dozens of species across the galaxy. Many have been oppressed. For thousands of years, their development intentionally stunted." She moved closer to the alien commander. "You came to conquer us, but instead, you've introduced us to a galaxy in need of liberation. Your empire's first war with humans will indeed be its last, but not because you'll destroy us, because we're going to free every world you've enslaved." As news of the human victory spread across the galaxy through captured communication channels, countless subjugated species looked to the stars with something they hadn't felt in millennia: hope. The Empire had inadvertently created its own worst nightmare, a species that didn't just fight for survival, but for justice. Humanity was going to the stars, not as conquerors like the Caltherians, but as liberators. Admiral Lee looked out at the stars visible through the station's viewport. This was just the beginning of humanity's greatest journey.